So for the Viennese biscuits you'll need 250 grams of very soft unsalted butter, 225 grams of plain flour. You'll also need 50 grams of icing sugar, and 25 grams of corn flour. To decorate my biscuits I'll be using 100 grams of milk chocolate, 50 grams of white chocolate, and I've got some Eastery sprinkles as well. Equipment wise you'll need a big mixing bowl like this one, a wooden spoon, a lined baking tray. I use reusable greaseproof on mine, a piping bag, and a starred nozzle. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my unsalted butter and empty it into my mixing bowl. And I'm just going to start beating it because although it is already soft, it needs to be creamy. So I'll just speed this bit up because otherwise you'll be here forever. So once the butter is nice and creamy, we're going to add in the icing sugar. And so that we don't make a huge mess, I'm just going to gently fold this in. And then once it's incorporated, I'm going to beat it again until it's pale and fluffy. This is the kind of consistency you're looking for from your butter and sugar. So the next thing I'm going to do is gradually add in my flour. Just a bit at a time, otherwise it will just go everywhere. I'm just going to start to fold that in, incorporate it. Please excuse my wobbly table, we'll get that fixed for next time. We're just going to keep gradually adding the flour, mixing it in so that all the ingredients are combined. So now that all the flour is combined, we're going to add in our corn flour. And again, we're going to start just folding that in gently at first, and then we're going to mix it really well. And then what we need to do is really beat this mixture. You need to make it really nice and soft. This can take anywhere between just a couple and 5-10 minutes just to make sure that the mixture is smooth and light and easy for us to pipe the biscuits. So this is the consistency you're looking for. It's like a soft cake batter. This took me about 7 minutes to get it like this. And now that's ready for our piping bag. So take your piping bag and your nozzle and get an idea of how far up the point you need to cut the piping bag. Obviously you don't want the nozzle to fall out. So cut the end off, open up your piping bag and pop your nozzle through. Now I haven't quite cut that one far down enough, so I'm just going to pop the nozzle back up the bag, cut a little bit more off. There we go, that's perfect. So the whole of the star is out of the end of the bag. And then one of my hacks for filling a piping bag is to grab a pint glass and to pop the piping bag inside the glass. And then fold the piping bag around it, making sure that it is completely inside out so that you get none of the mixture on the outside of the piping bag, meaning your hands will stay clean when you're piping. So using the glass as a support, just spoon the mixture into the piping bag. Making sure to use up as much of the mixture as you can. And then lift up the piping bag around the mixture. And then push that back down into the glass so that you can pop some more in. And then just from the inside of the bag, scrape the mixture off the spoon. There we go. Then taking the top of the piping bag, take it out of the glass and squeeze down the mixture to the end of the piping bag. And then just by twisting the bag, push the mixture right down to the end. And keep doing this until it's full at the bottom. Right, so that's all done now. So I'm going to pop this in the fridge for 10 to 15 minutes just to firm up a little bit. Now that my mix has firmed up a little bit in the fridge, just going to pipe some swirls. This mixture can be quite hard to pipe, so just persevere with it. And you're just going to do a swirl back and forth like I am. Keep twisting the bag to make sure nothing comes out at the other end. And just repeat this process until you've used up all your mixture. I managed to get 6 on this tray, and then I'm going to do another batch once these ones are out of the oven. So these are now ready for the oven to be baked at 170 degrees Celsius using a fan assisted oven for 12 minutes or until pale golden brown. Now these are baked, I'm going to leave them on the baking tray for 5 minutes before transferring them to a wire rack. So now these have cooled for just a few minutes, I'm just going to really gently transfer them across. Be sure to be really patient and gentle with these because they are a very crumbly, buttery biscuit, so they can break quite easily. Now that I'm done with these, I'm going to repeat this with the leftover mix and make the last of my biscuits. Now that my biscuits are completely cool, they're ready to be decorated, so I'm going to do that by melting 100 grams of milk chocolate in the microwave on 30-second bursts. And while that's melting, I'm going to lay some cling film over my worktop so that I don't have to clean up all the chocolate afterwards. There we go. Now that my chocolate has melted and is runny, I'm going to very, very carefully dip my biscuits in the chocolate. These are really fragile biscuits, so just be careful. I'm just going to dip them in on the long edge, on the top and the bottom. Shaking off any excess chocolate. I'm going to place them back on the cooling rack. And then I'm going to sprinkle some of my Easter sprinkles just over the edge of them. So I'm going to continue this with half of my batch of biscuits as I have a different design that I want to do on the other half. As you can see, I've already dipped the biscuits in the milk chocolate like I did for the first biscuits, but I've melted 50 grams of white chocolate for these ones, and just using the back of a teaspoon, I'm going to drizzle it over the milk chocolate in stripes. You probably won't need all 50 grams of chocolate unless you've managed to make more biscuits out of your batter, but it just means that I've got enough to drizzle the chocolate over the top. Now that these are all done, I'm just going to let them set on the cooling racks before we enjoy them with a cup of coffee later. So that brings us to the end of another video. If you've enjoyed it, please like and subscribe down below. And if you give the recipe a try, please tag me in your pictures over on Instagram and Facebook because I'd love to see how you got on. So until next time, I'll just take this one.